So my view on pricing has evolved. I think over the last couple of years, like one of the biggest things that I've started thinking about is how early startups should start thinking about pricing. Like back in the day, I kind of ascribed to the idea that startups can just kind of like get a number out there and test it and see what happens. I still think to a certain extent, like some companies can get by doing that and it still makes sense. But I think with how generative AI has evolved, how influential it can be to both like a product's growth and the margins of a product, it makes a lot more sense to start thinking about pricing a lot earlier. And what I've seen is startup founders like starting out with credit models and stuff like that from day one before they even have customers. And so that's really made me kind of like shift my thinking and how early people should take pricing really seriously and start thinking about it more sophisticatedly.
My view on pricing over the years, I think we're really moving a little bit away maybe from the subscription model, and I think we're going to need to be very creative in the next few years. And I didn't think of pricing as a creative thing, so I used to think about it more as an operational thing, and now I think about it as a creative thing.
So I think one way that my view on pricing has evolved over time is how customer-centric you need to be with pricing. A lot of times when you start out in the pricing world, it's cool. How do we just make more money and how do we increase, our revenue, especially in the short term, and that can cause a lot of short-term trade-offs. But if you focus on the long term and you try to figure out, what really drives that value to the customers, what really aligns with their needs, then you're going to be in a much happier spot. You're going to have much better relationships with those customers and have that long-term growth. So kind of having that long-term perspective, that customer-centric perspective is super important there.
You need to have like a leadership on pricing, right? Like I think initially when I started into this, I was in a consulting role, kind of just advising and kind of getting out of the thing and then going to the next company. And then over time, as I've found out, is that like you really need some voice inside of a company that's going to constantly advocate for the right pricing model across the board, across kind of product engineering, finance. So that's kind of like having that person in a company is really critical, and then that's like a key finding over time.